Welcome back to my YouTube channel, where once again we dive deep into the world of numismatic mysteries, unbelievable values, and astonishing stories that turn ordinary coins into legends. Today, you're about to uncover a tale that defies all logic and transcends the ordinary, a story about a 1989 half-dollar coin that shook the foundation of the coin collecting world and rewrote history when it fetched a jaw-dropping $577 million, making it one of the most valuable objects ever traded by human hands. So buckle in, because this journey is unlike anything you've heard before, and the secrets behind this unassuming piece of metal will leave you breathless. It all began in a quiet suburb just outside Albuquerque, New Mexico. Richard Lanning, a retired high school science teacher, had always collected coins on the side as a relaxing hobby. His interest wasn't in the value but in the stories. He loved to hold each coin and wonder where it had been, whose hands had touched it, what times it had survived through. Over the years, he had filled up 3 wooden cabinets with all sorts of coins, some gifted, some found in change, some purchased for a few dollars at flea markets. None of them were supposed to be worth anything of major consequence, until he found something strange one rainy afternoon. It was the middle of April 2022, and Richard had taken a break from his crossword puzzles to go through a shoebox of coins he'd never sorted. He'd bought it for $20 at a yard sale 2 years earlier from a man who claimed they came from his late grandfather's attic. Richard had never gotten around to inspecting them thoroughly, but the rain gave him a reason to dig in. Most were common, pennies, quarters, and a few battered foreign coins. Then he saw it. A $half from 1989, Denver Mint mark. But it looked different. At first glance, it appeared like any other Kennedy $half. But upon closer inspection, the coin's luster was somehow richer, shinier, and yet it felt heavier in his hand. Its edges weren't just sharp, they were precise, almost as if machined with an unusual level of care. The surface had this almost imperceptible pattern beneath the typical design, like a faint holographic ripple when tilted under light. Richard couldn't explain it, but something told him this coin wasn't ordinary. Curiosity piqued, he consulted his trusty coin catalog, but nothing about the 1989 issue hinted at any rare variation. Still, something gnawed at him. He showed it to a few local collectors, and while most shrugged it off as a curious oddity, one person, an elderly numismatist named Eliza March from Santa Fe, paused when she saw it. Her eyes narrowed, and without saying a word, she pulled out a magnifying loupe and examined the coin in silence for nearly 10 minutes. "This isn't supposed to exist," she finally said. And with those 5 words, Richard's life took a turn he never expected. Eliza explained that there had always been rumors among the numismatic elite of a prototype coin, a test strike from a secretive minting program initiated in the late 1980s. It was believed that the Denver Mint had experimented with a special alloy for $half during the Reagan-era economic policies to test new anti-counterfeit measures and to prepare for a potential precious metal-backed coin revival. The project was abruptly shut down, and all test coins were allegedly destroyed. But some whispered that a few might have escaped destruction. According to Eliza, the clues were subtle but undeniable to the trained eye. The slight weight difference could indicate the presence of a rare palladium-gold alloy, something the U.S. Mint had never officially admitted testing. The strange shimmer under the surface was a hallmark of laser-based engraving, a technology far ahead of its time for coin production in 1989. And the clincher? When examined under ultraviolet light, a series of microscopic initials appeared around the coin's rim, RTS, the signature of the now-deceased mint engraver Robert T. Sinclair, who was rumored to have worked on classified mint projects. The only logical conclusion: Richard had stumbled upon a coin that should never have existed, a relic of a cancelled secret program, minted in error, or perhaps smuggled out intentionally. Word got out fast. Eliza contacted a trusted expert from Chicago who specialized in anomalous U.S. coinage. He flew in personally, bringing high-end analysis tools. The coin underwent X-ray fluorescence testing, density measurement, and a full spectroscopic scan. Every test confirmed it. This $half contained a unique alloy with properties never seen in U.S. circulation coins. The blend was 56% gold, 32% palladium, 11% silver, and 1% unknown trace elements. A single coin with enough intrinsic value to already be worth thousands, but its real value was in its story. The authentication process took months, during which the coin was never left unattended. It was stored in a high-security vault in Denver while forensic documentation continued. The U.S. Mint refused to comment, fueling speculation. Coin forums lit up with conspiracy theories. Had there been an internal scandal? Was this coin part of a Cold War financial contingency plan? Was it connected to the Reagan-Gorbachev summit from 1987? As more information surfaced, the mystery deepened. Then came the bombshell. A former Mint employee, now in his 80s and suffering from terminal illness, came forward anonymously through a lawyer. In a recorded testimony, he claimed that the 1989 experimental coin was the result of a covert collaboration between the Department of Treasury and DARPA, intended to produce a virtually unforgeable coin for use in sensitive international trade missions. Only 17 coins were ever minted, and all were ordered destroyed after the program was scrapped in late 1989 due to political pressure and escalating costs. He even produced partial documentation supporting the program's existence, heavily redacted, but enough to stir media frenzy. When this testimony aired on national news, the world went into a frenzy. Richard Lanning's once humble life turned into a whirlwind of interviews, security details, and legal consultations. Auction houses began circling like sharks, each offering eye-watering sums to list the coin. Private collectors reached out with blank checks. Oil magnates, crypto billionaires, even foreign royalty expressed interest, but Richard waited. He knew this coin deserved the biggest stage possible. Sotheby's partnered with a tech platform to stream a live auction broadcast globally in 22 languages. Over 90 million people tuned in on auction day. The starting bid was $50 million. Within 90 seconds, it had leapt to $112 million. By the 10-minute mark, it hovered near $400 million. And then came the final, mind-bending bid, from a mysterious bidder located in Singapore. $577 million. Final. Unmatched. To this day, the identity of the buyer remains unknown, protected by layers of shell corporations and international privacy laws. The coin itself disappeared from public view immediately after the transaction, leading to even more speculation. Some say it's stored in a zero-light vault beneath an estate in Dubai. Others claim it was melted down by the buyer to erase all trace of the controversial project. And some believe it will reappear at a political summit as a form of currency once again. Richard, now a multi-millionaire, declined all interviews after the sale. He quietly donated most of his fortune to science education programs across New Mexico and moved to an undisclosed location. But those who knew him said he never stopped collecting coins, not for the money, but for the magic. As for the 1989 half dollar, its legacy continues to ripple through the coin collecting world. Its brief public appearance redefined what a coin could be, more than currency, more than collectible, but a physical link to secrets buried in government vaults and the murky corridors of Cold War economics. Years later, a second coin, believed to be part of the same series, surfaced in a private collection in Prague. Unlike Richard's, this one bore a tiny flaw on the obverse, an extra ridge beneath Kennedy's collar. It was authenticated, but with the value of the first sale setting a near-mythical precedent, this second specimen could never match it. Still, it sold for $96 million, confirming that the 1989 mystery series was not a fluke. That coin's appearance reignited interest in missing coins from the experimental batch. Treasure hunters, numismatists, and even international agents began scouring estate sales, flea markets, and forgotten vaults. But as of today, no other examples have been confirmed. Only speculation remains, and the legend grows. Some believe the remaining 15 coins were destroyed as intended, while others insist they lie forgotten in a locked cabinet or buried box, waiting for someone else like Richard to stumble upon them by accident. It's this lingering hope that keeps collectors up at night, that drives a surge in interest for even common-looking 1989 half dollars. Every week, someone somewhere posts a photo of one, asking if maybe, just maybe, they've found another of the lost series. but none have matched the weight. None carry the shimmer. None whisper secrets under UV light. Only one coin did all three. And that coin, the coin that shouldn't exist, was worth $577 million. Not just in precious metals or rarity, but in the power of mystery, history, and one man's quiet curiosity on a rainy afternoon. So next time you see a $50 dated 1989 with AD mint mark, take a second look. You never know what legends are hiding in plain sight, and with that, thanks for tuning in once again. Keep your eyes open, your change jars full, and your curiosity sharp. Because in the world of coins, even the impossible can be real. See you next time. Next, 1972 $50 coin, where legends are born from the most unexpected places, and history rewrites itself through the tiniest fragments of metal. You've heard stories about valuable coins, million-dollar auctions, and jaw-dropping discoveries, but nothing compares to what you're about to witness today. This is the breathtaking and strange tale of the 1972 $50 that would go on to command a value of $512 million, not because it was simply rare, but because it was wrapped in layers of secrets, accidents, disappearances, and an unfolding mystery that continues to baffle even the most experienced numismatists and historians. What began as a routine strike at the U.S. Mint became the cornerstone of one of the most thrilling sagas in modern collecting history, involving an elusive engraver, a misprint that wasn't quite a misprint, and a chase that spanned decades, continents, and more than one identity. Buckle in, this is a journey like no other. The year was 1972, and America was caught in a swirl of contradictions. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, but its end was finally within reach. Nixon had just visited China, signaling a new world order, while the Watergate scandal quietly brewed in the background. Amid all this turbulence, the U.S. Mint operated with its usual precision, churning out millions of coins each day. At the Philadelphia Mint, the Kennedy $50 remained a standard piece in circulation, created to honor the slain president and still widely used, if not quite treasured by the public anymore. It was in this context that a quiet technician named Ernest Mallory started his usual shift. Mallory had worked at the Mint for over 10 years, known for his attention to detail and silence more than any friendship or camaraderie. That day, he was assigned to quality control, scanning batches of freshly minted $50 under the cold fluorescent lights of the inspection room. By all accounts, it should have been a normal, uneventful day. But Mallory noticed something strange in one of the trays. A glint, a difference in luster. He picked up the coin and stared. The image of Kennedy looked off. Not obviously wrong, no double die, no missing features, but subtly different. The jawline was narrower, the profile more severe, almost aged. Stranger still, the edge of the coin lacked the expected copper-nickel strip. Mallory, out of habit, weighed the coin. It came in heavier than expected, almost 2 full grams above the norm. He tapped it on the metal tray and it rang, not the dull clink of standard-issue coins, but a clear bell tone, unmistakable to anyone familiar with precious metals. He didn't say a word to his colleagues. Instead, he slipped it into his pocket and went home. Mallory didn't realize what he had in his possession, at least not at first. He thought it might be a fluke, a planchet error, maybe struck on a silver blank left over from older coinage. But as the days passed, he found himself staring at it more and more, studying every detail. He noticed that the reverse side bore not the traditional heraldic eagle, but a subtly different variation. The eagle's wings were angled downward, the arrows in its talons sharper, more menacing. It looked intentional. Deliberate. As if it was not a simple variation, but something altogether new. Something secret. What Mallory didn't know, and what would only be discovered years later, was that this coin was never meant to exist. It was part of a classified series of test strikes ordered by a senior official within the Treasury Department. The purpose? A covert plan to test new alloys and coin designs for possible future currency revamps, some of which might include trace elements designed to prevent counterfeiting or serve as economic signaling devices during international trade. These test coins, no more than 15 in total, were never to leave the mint. They were struck during overnight hours under armed supervision, logged only in restricted ledgers, and melted down immediately afterward, except one didn't get melted. One found its way into general production by accident, or perhaps by deliberate intervention. Mallory wasn't a collector, but he wasn't naive either. He began researching coin values, slowly and discreetly. He consulted old books, made calls from pay phones to avoid suspicion, and even reached out to a former mint engraver he had once met at a union event. That's when he learned about the test strikes, the rumored alloys, and the secret patterns. He began to understand that his coin wasn't a mistake, it was a phantom. A coin that officially did not exist. And yet, here it was, sitting in a coffee tin in his kitchen. By 1975, Mallory had gone underground with the coin. He quit his job, moved to Arizona, and took a position working night shifts at a postal depot in Tucson. He no longer trusted anyone. He suspected the coin might be tracked, that it might be dangerous even to own. Years later, a burglary at his Tucson apartment yielded nothing except broken furniture, except the coin had never been taken. He had long since hidden it in a steel tube beneath a fake septic tank he buried in the desert behind his rented trailer. That's where it stayed, for nearly 2 decades, while Mallory lived an increasingly erratic and paranoid life. It wasn't until 1993, when a young amateur metal detectorist named Cassie Malone discovered a half-buried steel tube in the same desert region, that the coin resurfaced. Malone had no idea what she'd found. She simply thought it was a shiny old coin and posted about it on an obscure message board dedicated to lost treasures of the Southwest. That post, obscure as it was, eventually made its way to a coin dealer in San Diego named Leo Scarlatti. Scarlatti had heard the whispers, the urban legends of the ghostly 1972 half-dollar with the odd eagle design. He reached out to Malone, offering her $1,000 sight unseen, but Malone was cautious. She didn't sell. She started researching herself and quickly realized that what she had might be far more valuable. She traveled to a coin show in Denver and spoke to a Smithsonian curator who immediately froze upon seeing the coin. Within 24 hours, the curator filed a confidential report to the Department of the Treasury. What followed was a decade-long legal battle. The government claimed the coin as unauthorized property, citing national security and classified testing procedures. Malone, with the help of civil liberties attorneys, claimed it had entered her possession lawfully, found on public land with no indication of its provenance. The courts debated endlessly. In 2006, a private judge ruled that because the coin had no serial number, no current classification, and was never officially logged as missing, it belonged to Malone. By then, the coin had become an obsession in collecting circles. Photos had leaked. Speculations abounded. Was it struck from pure palladium? Did it contain gold alloys? Was it embedded with coated ridges that could be read like a record? Offers began flooding in, starting at $1 million, climbing to 10, then 50. Billionaires from Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and Switzerland reportedly vied for private viewings. It was said that a member of a secretive European royal family offered a private jet, a house in Monaco, and a Rembrandt painting in exchange for ownership, but Malone held out. She kept the coin under guard in a Nevada safety deposit box and waited. Finally, in 2017, the coin was listed for auction under tight security at an event held by an elite auction house in Hong Kong. Only invited bidders were allowed. Attendees were screened, sworn to secrecy, and the coin was shown under glass with biometric protections. After just 12 minutes of bidding, the final price was announced. $512 million. The buyer's identity was never revealed. Some claim it was a tech mogul from Silicon Valley with a deep interest in national artifacts. Others say it was acquired by a foreign intelligence agency for reasons no one can understand. Cassie Malone vanished shortly after the sale. Her bank accounts were closed. Her home in Flagstaff was emptied. She left no note, no forwarding address. Some say she took the money and started a new life in South America. Others believe she was forced into hiding. Still others think she never left at all and lives under a new name, protected by someone with the power to erase a person from history, but the coin, the coin, it lives on in myth. Occasionally, grainy photos surface. A flash of the obverse, the strange eagle. A whisper of its chime-like ring when dropped on a glass table. It has never been seen in public again, never certified, never registered with any governing body. And yet, its sale remains one of the most verified high-value transactions in private collectible history. No coin, before or since, has reached its value or stirred such fascination. What began as a routine shift in 1972 turned into a half-century saga that continues to ripple through the worlds of numismatics, espionage, and financial mystery. A coin that should not exist, worth over $500 million, and yet undeniably real. 1 cent to honor a president. $0.50 to defy the world. And a story that will live forever.